I made a notation on the page that is the golden text of the words that seem to be used frequently in relationship to the topic of truth. And one such word is walk. It appears right away in the golden text. I will walk in thy truth. Teach me thy way, O Lord. I will walk in thy truth. And walk seems to come across as following commandments and moving forward. That's the way I seem to interpret it. Then meek appears quite often, and it seems to be an absolute essential in our own attitude if we are to absorb and recognize the truth. Then only, I think, 2 times did the word rock appear as a synonym of truth. And that usually is more frequently in the lesson when you talk about truth. But I saw preponderance of meek and walking instead, whatever it means. Sensitivity to human need, part of what is associated with truth. Jesus' sensitivity to the woman with the issue of blood. The understanding heart that Solomon got gave him, it seems to me, sensitivity to human need. And he could see right through those 2 women as to who was following closer the truth. And then the word freedom does not appear often, but it does appear in connection with the going of Paul. The word freedom appears there, and I'll cover that in a few minutes. And then I've noticed that the lesson on truth seems to me not lacking in love, but does not appeal to love very often. And perhaps that was my misreading it. But Mrs. Eddy's poetic touch appear and give a kind of softness to what she says very commandingly about truth. For example, she says, and she just has the most wonderful poetic sense, science, the sunshine of truth, will melt away the shadow and reveal the celestial. I think that's a beautiful picture that conjures up. So what I did was, I was reading the latest journal. Now let's see, it's February, that I received just a few days ago. And one of the most wonderful articles to me was a 91st Psalm prayer by Lois Ray Carlson. It starts on page 23. And I saw so much correlation between the 91st Psalm and all the truths that we were getting in the lesson on the relationship between God and man, on the spiritual universe, in everything. But the 91st Psalm prayer in this particular article interpreted, and it is so loving that it just made me realize that what I hadn't seen directly in the lesson on truth, that it's loaded with love. So I'm going to just do about 5 or 6 instances of the correlation and what she says about the particular passage that made me realize that truth is love and love is truth. For example, the responsive reading and throughout the lesson, Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Who shall dwell in thy holy hill? That's responsive reading. Opening up 91st Psalm, we know so well. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Now this is what she says about it. This, dear one, is the only place you live, not in flesh, but in spirit, unknown to the carnal mind, not threatened or disturbed. You love this truth enough to live it. Isn't that a lovely interpretation? Then we have in the responsive reading and throughout the lesson, he that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness and speaketh the truth in his heart. And we have in the 91st Psalm, I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in him will I trust. Her interpretation, your oneness with God acts as a law of safety, which embraces you wherever you go. You are learning to trust this. Then, show me thy ways, O Lord, teach me thy paths, from responsive reading. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. 91st Psalm. Father, mother's deliverance exposes the subtlety of evil and silences the suggestions that scream at you. And a way of saying, show me thy ways, O Lord, teach me thy paths. Because within that teaching, there is deliverance on the subtlety of evil. Are you getting my point at all? Oh, okay. Now, one or two more. All the paths of the Lord are mercy and truth unto such as keep his covenant and his testimonies. 91st Psalm. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Interpretation. The tenderness you feel is as the tenderness of feathers, because spirit is your substance. Truth keeps you aligned with the kingdom in the press of human experience. Divine mind expresses mental alertness so that you can quickly disbelieve evil. And then, of course, the next passage is the same idea in the 91st Psalm. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. You have Christly dominion and authority over fears at night and the intensity that tries to spoil the day. That was very, very helpful to me, because often the day seems like nothing but intenseness to get things done. And that's not God's day. Okay, let's see what else touched me. All the paths of the Lord are mercy and truth unto such as keep his covenant and his testimonies. Now let's see what we have here. That's also, he shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. That's such a beautiful image. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. But the next two words, the tenderness you feel, that's the love that is in there, and I just hadn't seen it as fully as I should have. Now let's one or others, and then we'll go back to the lesson. Let me see. I like that she points out very clearly, and now God speaks directly. It changes person. I've always recognized that, but she, in her 91st Psalm prayer, makes that very clear, and then has a lovely, tender interpretation of that. So God is speaking now. Because he hath set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high, because he hath known my name. You do love me, dear child, with your whole heart, mind, soul, and strength. Our oneness means we do all things together. You are safe in me, and the same is true on the next. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. Every prayer you have ever asked of me, I have answered in just the way you are ready to receive. This will always be true, because I adore the child of my own making. Your safety and health are established. Isn't that lovely? And that's in this lesson. the last statement, with long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. Mercy lengthens your days, dear one, not hardship, suffering, doubt, mockery, or inadequacy. Today I have ordained your life with satisfaction and peace in Christ. My guaranteed saving power, you are never asked to live a moment without me. That was so reassuring. And when I had focused on the 91st Psalm and reread the lesson, it just oozed love, which I had not seen before. So I thought you might find that interesting. Okay. Then I always love to look at the vocabulary that's used. And in citation 3, we have, turn away mine eyes from beholding vanity, and quicken thou me in thy way. The word way, as Jesus has said it so often, I am the way, appears almost as often as walk, which is to follow the way. And the quicken, the one definition that I liked, I know we use it to speak of the movement of a child in the womb, so it quickens or comes to life when you feel it. But the one that I like is to become more active and more sensitive. Isn't that nice? That's from the dictionary. Okay, let's see what else. All right, the lesson was powerful. It made me clearly know that God does not afflict. I hear so many descriptions of problems that people have around here. And my thought constantly says, God does not afflict. And the lesson brings that out very clearly. If thou will walk in my ways, this is citation 7, 14. And if thou will walk in my ways, there's walk and ways again, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as my father David did walk, then I will lengthen thy days. That is God speaking, of course, to Solomon. Now, let's see. The other outstanding part of the lesson to me was Paul. Paul has claimed he was tried or listened to by Herod Agrippa II. He was tried before Herod Agrippa II, says the Bible history book. And in a part not quoted in the lesson, Agrippa says, thou almost persuadest me to be a Christian. And further he says, he has done nothing to deserve death. And he might have been set free if he had not appealed to Caesar. Now, that is very important to me to understand that. I didn't understand that. I knew that he had said, Civis Romanus sum, I am a Roman citizen, and made his appeal to go to Rome before Caesar and present his case, which every citizen supposedly has the right to do in the empire. But he could have been released by Agrippa, but he decided to go, or rather, I came to realize he was told by God to go to Rome and to spread the word to Rome. And it meant a great deal of sacrifice, but he had, if you'll recall his story of trying to get there by ship, he had many instances where God's protection was clear. Men were killed in a great storm that came up. The ship was destroyed, but no life was destroyed. And when he was putting his hands near a fire, a viper came out and bit him. And he just shook the viper off and was perfectly all right. So that he was doing what he's supposed to do. And I suspect, this is just my interpretation, that God wanted this message taken to the heart of materiality, which was, of course, Rome at the time. And the heart of tyranny was Rome. Now, when he got to Rome, he was put under arrest, but he dwelt in his own house. It was like a house arrest for 2 years. And from that house, he reached many with the message. And then we don't know what happened, but apparently he was sacrificed or executed, done God's will to get the message to the heart. And that was a kind of sensitivity to the human need. It had to be taken. It had to be taken to Rome. Well, that's all I want to say about the lesson, because I think it's very clear, it's very direct, and I'm so grateful that I found the love in it through the 91st Psalm prayer. I think her interpretation was just so helpful. In fact, I praise the periodicals. Most of them seem to be written just for me.